welcome to Payroll 2020. Today we're going to talk about New York State tax rates, paid family leave, and state disability, SDI. We're going to go through all the formulas and talk a little bit about how to handle New York tax rates. And of course, this is the coolest payroll file in the world. I believe this is the least expensive, easiest to use payroll application in the universe. You can try to sue me because I can prove this in court. It is the best. So we're going to go through how it works. And of course, if you're interested, go to kenbraverman.com or follow some links in the description. It's $100 and it's going to make your life easy. And I wrote this algorithm robot to take care of payroll for you. So let's get into it and how it works. So in the employee info sheet, you need to gather some information about your employees. And in New York, first $11,600 is state unemployment wage base. So you will have to pay, if you pay unemployment on your employees, you will have to pay some percentage, whatever the state assigns you on the first 11,600. That's what that is down here. But let's talk about all the employees and what you need to put in here. You need to put a name, last name, a first name, social security number if you want to. If they filled out an old W-4, the number of allowances are going to go here. If they filled out a new W-4 for 2020, you're going to choose yes or no here, whether or not they're married, what the state allowances are. Now, there are some additional allowances that can be related to New York City and Yonkers. I'm not going to talk about that in this video, but it is something that is built into this file if you have residence in those cities. You do need to know whether or not you're going to be paying paid family leave and or state disability, SDI as it's called, and you're going to need to choose from this drop-down menu what it is that you are choosing for this employee. Are you paying PFI and SDI both? Are you just paying paid family leave only, just SDI or state disability only, or neither? You're going to want to choose that here, and then everything else is going to work for you. What state are they in? New York. What state for unemployment? New York. You need to fill out a state filing status. One of the choices on the IT 20 something 04, I think it is. I do not remember what the exact form is called, but it's the form you need to fill out. It's kind of like the New York W-4 essentially. There's going to be a filing status that it wants on there, single, married, or married, and withholding at a single rate. That's the other option. This area over here is for completing your 2020 W-4 information. We're not going to go through that here. I did a whole video on that at the beginning of the year. The new W-4 is really complicated and annoying. You can go check out that video if you would like to learn about that. So once you've got your employee information here, you can start going to your daily entry sheet and choose employees and what day they worked and the type of hours and how many hours they worked, if they worked for tips or projects. We don't need to get up into all that now, but that's where you're going to record their hourly information to get what their kind of gross pay is. Here's where the crux of all the formulas are and where we're going to talk about New York State tax withholding, how to calculate it, and what we've done in this file. So the pay period record sheet allows you to look at each individual paycheck in a horizontal row to discuss all the elements of that paycheck so that you can easily enter it in and then have all your information roll through to all the other sheets so that you can look at your reports, look at your paychecks, quarterlies, everything, right? So here we have an employee Bulbasaur, a Pokemon character. This is a weekly payroll file that we're looking at, although there's any payroll period that this thing can adjust to. And within this weekly pay, you have some additional federal withheld, maybe if you needed, like $10 additional federal, maybe some additional state. You could put that there. You're going to have your hours are going to come in automatically from that other daily sheet that we had. You're going to want to put in hourly rate for the employee here and any bonus or commission or salary here. There's areas for garnishments, reimbursements, or any other type of withholding. I've got a lot of them hidden in here that you can't see right now, but it basically can handle anything. So let's talk about what's going on in New York. Within New York, like I mentioned, paid family leave and state disability. The state disability is pretty easy. It's 0.5%. So it's not 0.5 or even 0.05, it's 0.005 is the rate, but it's maxed out depending on your pay period. So it's only 60 cents per pay period max that you can pull out for SDI for a weekly pay period. If it was a bi-weekly pay period, this would be $1.20. If it was a semi-monthly pay period, the max would be $1.30. and so on. So the 0.005 or 0.5% is usually going to be more than whatever the employee's paycheck is. So it's going to max out at about this 60 cents a week. It's not that bad. That's for SDI. For paid family leave, which is over here, this rate is 0.0027 or 0.27%. And it's also maxed out at $195-ish per year. So if the person makes, I think, more than about $72,859 for the year, you'll stop withholding PFI if you are withholding PFI from their check. So, but it's 0.0027 times your taxable gross is going to get what the PFI is. So that one's pretty easy as well. The actual New York state tax withholding, however, gets more complicated and is a really big formula. So what you need to do is you need to annualize your wages first, figure out what the deductions and exemptions are, which are located here. The deductions and exemptions for New York are over here. If you're single or married, it's this table right here. The number of exemptions that you're claiming on that IT-20 whatever form. If you're single, this is each one of those exemptions or deductions is going to be, if it's one, you deduct $8,400 from the annual gross wages. If they're single, you deduct $8,950 if they were married. It's tied to all these different exemption numbers. So when we go back here, you annualize your wages and then you deduct out that deduction or exemption amount. And you come up with a taxable annualized wage amount. You then apply this crazy formula. It is enormous. There's actually a bigger one for if you're married than if you're single. There's like 15 different layers of potential taxable layers, striations or whatever, within the formula that you need to write. A huge nested if formula is one way to do it. That's the way I've done it here. I'll post this in the description below if you need it. But it's a huge if formula, and if the income is more than this, do this, add this. That's what it is, and then you've got to divide it by the number of pay periods to figure out what your actual withholding is. So you do that if the person is single or married and wants to be withheld at the single rate, like a head of household type situation. That's what this is. The married formula, a very similar thing, but a little bit bigger, is this enormous one. It's going to be very, very close unless your employee is making hundreds and hundreds of $1,000s a year. Then it starts to differentiate a little bit between the two, the married or the single rate. So that's this enormous formula. Then you choose which one it is depending on the status of the employee, and you get this number. So all that being said, you end up with a paycheck that looks something like this in New York, which is you're going to get your gross pay, you're going to have federal tax withheld, Social Security, Medicare, state tax from New York, I've rounded it here, state disability, and paid family leave. You also have reports where you can go in here and toggle and see your different reports by different periods. You can change things like quarters, or you can just look at a certain month, and it's going to show you what all your withholdings are and what your quarterly reports need to be here. It's going to break out everything. This is the actual quarterly 941 that you need to file every quarter is over here. You can do the same thing, Q1, Q2. It's going to automatically change everywhere. And then there's other reports I'll get into later. We're at 9 minutes in, we're pretty long. So that's basically how you do New York. You need to figure if PFI and SDI, state disability or paid family leave, apply to your employees. You have that option here to make that decision and choose which employee gets what, and everything just filters through to the rest of the file. So if you're interested, go to kenbraverman.com. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. We are going to have a 50-state payroll version here by the end of the year. So everybody who's been asking me for it, you're going to get that. And good luck to everyone. Payroll should be easy, so make it so.